Hi guys, it's the next day, and as you can see, I have taken my leaves out of the dehydrator. They are really nice and crispy, and this is what you want to see. You want to hear that really crispy sound, and that means that you are really dried really well. Okay, and what we need to do now is, because we're going to do an oil infusion, and you can do an oil infusion with whole plant leaves. You can do it with whole flowers. You can do it a lot of different ways. But because these leaves are so large, it can take up, you end up having to use a lot more oil, and it's not as concentrated. So I like to grind it up. And you have a couple of different choices. You can go old school and use a mortar and pestle. Okay? You just put the leaves in there, you grind, put them in. It does not have to be perfect. This is not something that you're going to need to have powder perfect, just smaller. Okay, you can go new gadgety. I have an old coffee grinder that I now use for herbs because I broke the top, and you have to use a little paper clip to go down in there to make it work. So I wasn't doing that at 5 o'clock in the morning to make my coffee. So I got a new coffee grinder, and then I dedicated this directly to herbs. So a lot of times I'll put these in there, but this is kind of big. You can do this in a blender. You can do it in a food processor, or you can really go, if you don't have any of those tools, you can just put your stuff in a baggie. So you can just put it in a bag, smash it up the best you can, and just get it smaller so that you can fit it in a jar and put a minimal amount of oil on it. Okay? So we put it in here in the bag, get it closed up so we don't make a mess, and just seriously, oops, popped it open. Seriously, just smash it. It should be really crunchy, really easy to do, not difficult at all. We just want to make it smaller so that it will fit nicely and be more concentrated. And you can get fancy. You can just use your hands. It's really not that critical. But as you can see, that whole huge bag is now compressed down. I'm getting this a little bit more. Really get a lot in there. Okay, so because I do a lot of infusing for my soap business, I have a scale. You do not have to use a scale, because anything that you get in here is going to be good. But I use a little tiny scale, and I like these little half pint glasses. These are little tiny, just ball glasses, canning jars. And I like these because they fit nicely into a crock pot. Okay, and we'll talk about that later. But right now, we're just going to put this in. I like to do a ½ ounce of my herb. Now, this is a pretty concentrated infusion. I like to use about a ½ ounce of my herbs. And I don't have my little funnel. The funnel makes it nice and a little bit less messy, so you guys can see me make a mess. But I like to put about a ½ ounce into the jar and then cover it with oil. Okay, so let's talk oils. You can use whatever kind of oils that you want. My go-to is olive oil. I tend to like olive oil for infusions. It goes kind of with everything, and it's really gentle on the skin. So I will use olive oil a vast majority of the time. But you can use any kind of oil you want. Sunflower oil, you know, any liquid oil. If you want it to be really, you know, luxurious, you could use jojoba oil or almond oil. But, you know, we're really just trying to extract the goodies out of the plantain. So I have some olive oil here for my bulk bin. And I'm just going to cover this up with olive oil. And then you'll notice there'll be some little air pockets that come out. I just kind of keep filling. Now, you have multiple choices now on how you want this to infuse. Okay? If you've got time and you were really on top of things, you can just set this in a sunny window with a lid loosely on it so it doesn't spill, if you have kids. And you can just set it in a sunny window, and it'll be ready in about 4 to 6 weeks. Nice, strong infusion. Okay? But I never have that kind of time. I'm never that organized. So what I do is I do a hot infusion. And so what I'll use is my crock pot. And so I just put the lids on the jars Okay, I usually do several at a time, but you don't have to. Okay. And right now I have, let's see, so this is my plantain. That's for home use. Then I have 2 little test soaps that I'm making. So I have some lavender and some calendula flowers. So those are, and then you want to have these on fairly loose because it will get warm. So you're just really trying to keep the water, the steam from, you know, that's going to be dripping off your lid of your crock pot, just not getting into your oils. Okay. And so you just put them on very loosely. They're just closing it up. Then what we're going to do is put them in here. Just like this. Let's get this over so you can see. There we go. It's simple. Okay. Fill it up about halfway with water. Turn it on low and leave it overnight. In the morning, you'll be able to run this through a little strainer, strain out all those little bits and bobs, and you'll have your infused oil. And that's all there is to infusing oil with herbs. You can do this with all kinds of things. Dandelion leaves. Like here I have flowers. I have, you know, calendula and lavender. Any kind of herb that you want to put into a salve or a lotion bar, or even just to slather on your skin, you can do this. So don't be afraid. Go out, get yourself some dried herbs, nice and dry, remember, crispy dry, and cover them with oil, put them in your crock pot. And we will see this tomorrow, and I'll show you how we strain it, and then how we make the actual salve.